Oke, selamat datang, selamat siang kepada semua partisipan yang hadir, baik di dalam Zoom session kita hari ini ataupun yang bergabung bersama kami via YouTube channel kami. Selamat datang di Catalyst Changemaker Lab, sesi mata air, yang hari ini kita punya suatu judul atau punya satu topik yang menarik banget, yaitu adalah tentang building your network, how to attract the right investor. Nah, seperti di sesi-sesi mata air sebelumnya, sesi hari ini tuh akan berbicara tentang bagaimana kita mempelajari suatu hal yang bersifat sangat insightful untuk membantu kita level up our skills, level up our knowledge, level up our understanding terhadap suatu hal, dan khususnya untuk hari ini kita akan belajar tentang bagaimana nih attracting the right investors gitu. Wah, ini materi yang sangat-sangat menarik dan sangat-sangat sangat-sangat praktikal buat kita nanti bisa aplikasikan di case-nya kita masing-masing gitu loh. Nah, sesi mata air yang hari ini tuh sebetulnya juga masih berhubungan dengan sesi-sesi yang sebelumnya. Kalau kemarin untuk rekan-rekan changemaker semua yang ada di Catalyst Changemaker Lab itu sudah berbicara tentang aligning impact dan financial sustainability bersama Mbak Atika. Hari ini kita akan berbicara tentang attracting the right investor. So, jadi kalau kemarin kita sudah bicara nih bagaimana plan-nya, bagaimana konseptualisasinya, hari ini kita akan belajar lebih banyak tentang teknis-teknisnya nih, strategi-strateginya nih, plan-plannya untuk bagaimana kita bisa dapatkan salah satu financial sustainability dari kasus dan organisasi kita misalkan, yaitu adalah dari para investor kayak gitu. Jadi sesi hari ini akan sangat-sangat menarik. Make sure kalau kalian semua, rekan-rekan semua itu stay tune dari awal, pertengahan hingga akhir sesi nanti gitu. Alright, kita seperti biasa kita punya tradisi nggak lengkap rasanya untuk rekan-rekan yang ada di Zoom session kita hari ini kalau nggak mengganti namanya dengan format organisasi underscore nama, supaya kita bisa lebih kenal, supaya kita bisa lebih tahu, dan kita bisa notice nih siapa aja nih yang datang gitu kan. Oh, misalkan rekan-rekan dari Angkuts misalkan, atau rekan-rekan dari Nazava Water Filters misalkan, itu sudah hadir gitu loh. Nanti kita mungkin ada sharing session dan sebagainya, kita bisa saling kenal satu sama lain. Jadi jangan lupa untuk ganti nama rekan-rekan semua yang ada di Zoom session dengan format organisasi underscore nama. Selain itu juga, aku punya satu info tambahan. Jangan lupa rekan-rekan semua, karena sesi hari ini akan sedikit bilingual, jadi teman-teman hari ini kita punya pemateri, nanti sih aku akan kasih sneak peek-nya nanti, tapi hari ini tuh karena kita punya pemateri yang pakai bahasa bilingual gitu ya, kita hari ini akan campur bahasanya, jadi rekan-rekan diminta untuk mengaktifkan live transcript dengan cara ada di slide berikutnya, mungkin rekan-rekan boleh dibantu rekan-rekan panitia live transcript-nya. Oke, jadi live transcript itu ada di bagian bawah. Nanti rekan-rekan pilih di situ ada tulisannya live transcript, dan teman-teman di situ nanti pilih yang tulisannya show subtitle. Jadi nanti sekali lagi pilih di bagian tombol di sebelah tombol share screen atau recording, di situ akan ada live transcript, dan di situ nanti dinyalakan show subtitle-nya begitu. Oke. Sesi hari ini cukup padat, tapi akan sangat-sangat insightful. Jadi izinkan aku untuk breakdown sesi hari ini itu akan seperti apa aja, dan berikut yang kalau rekan-rekan bisa lihat di layar, ini adalah agenda kita hari ini. Kita akan punya yang pertama, chapter pertama kita akan belajar tentang type of investor, terus yang kedua nanti kita akan bicara nih tentang the investor views. Kita akan belajar nih gimana sih perspektif yang dipunya dari para investor. Mungkin kita bisa belajar nih, kira-kira orang yang seperti apa sih yang menjadi target dari para investor gitu kan. Dan ini I think me personally I think that this is a very beneficial and very precious material that we will get di dalam chapter 2 nanti gitu. Nanti habis chapter 2 kita akan punya quick break juga. Jadi nanti untuk teman-teman yang mungkin mau ada break untuk praying, untuk istirahat, atau untuk sejenak merenggangkan badan, atau untuk sholat mungkin, itu feel free to do so. Dan nanti setelah break kita akan lanjutkan dengan chapter ketiga, yaitu adalah tentang why get funding gitu loh. Kenapa funding gitu, dan kenapa itu sesuatu yang penting gitu loh. Nanti kita akan belajar di chapter ketiga. Lalu nanti di sesi-sesi terakhir kita akan ada panel discussion, dan juga ada question and answer session. Nanti akan ditutup dengan tradisi kita seperti biasa, akan ada feedback form, akan ada photo sessions, dan akan ada announcement untuk sesi-sesi selanjutnya. Begitu kurang lebih untuk agenda kita hari ini. So yeah, here comes to our amazing great speaker untuk sesi hari ini. I'm definitely sure that kalian akan banyak belajar dari speaker yang satu ini. Jadi siapa speaker kita hari ini? Allow me to introduce our speaker today. So he is Tom Curley. So Tom Curley is the co-founder and managing partner at Bali Investing Club. So Bali Investing Club itu adalah salah satu yang juga menjadi partner dari Yayasan Anak Bangsa Bisa. And the mission is to add the value to organizations and the world. He is a master of business administration graduate with 9 years in advertising, consulting, and also advertising, consulting, and also entrepreneurship across the Western Europe, Southeast Asia, and also Southern Africa. Previously, he was experiencing in management consulting, focusing on digital innovation, agile transformation, and also business development. Tom specializes in innovation development with C-level and operational teams in fintech and also telco sectors. Jadi dengan pengalaman yang Tom punya, dengan background yang dia punya, I'm definitely sure kalau dia adalah a great speaker untuk tema kita yang hari ini juga merupakan tema yang sangat-sangat sangat-sangat beneficial, sangat-sangat menarik gitu, yaitu adalah tentang investor begitu. So I'm definitely sure teman-teman semua sudah tidak sabar, sudah sangat-sangat penasaran untuk punya sesi hari ini. So with that being said, I will hand over the session to Tom. So Tom, please have the moment.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Chris. That was real nice of you. I think you said way too many nice things about me, so I'll try make the most of everybody's time here. Hello, everyone. I can't really see most of you, but I assume you're watching. So thank you very much for joining us on the session today. I'm going to just do a quick screen share of the session. I think you can see, boom, we go slideshow. Okay, 1 second. Okay, cool. Are we good from my side, Chris? Everything's clear?
Yeah, everything is all good. Yeah.
Okay.
See the screen.
Yeah. So thank you so much for obviously inviting me to be part of the Catalyst Changemakers Lab and to be part of the session today. I've spent quite a bit of time in speaking with the team to understand how we could create a really cool session for what you guys, the projects that you guys are working on. I understand that you are, some of you are more, let's say, like in the entrepreneur space, looking at doing startups, some more in the social enterprises. I think what's really amazing here is that everybody is kind of coming together on the concept, on the idea of actually helping solve problems in Indonesia. And as far as I understand it, it's everything, surrounding water, which is the main thing we need in life. So I'm going to be sharing, a bit of pretty much like a little story of Bali Investment Club, how we came about, because in a way we also a bit of a startup. And then I'll be using examples of my experience in Indonesia over the last year and a half, speaking to over 100 entrepreneurs in the last 12 months. So I can kind of share some theory and some concepts with you, and then also tell you real life stories of how those come alive. So just a quick intro on Bali Investment Club. As Chris was saying, so we're a social club of conscious investors, influencers, and entrepreneurs creating a new paradigm. And what we mean by the new paradigm, it's really about supporting people and companies and projects that are about more than just making good money. It's about creating impact and improving the lives of people in Indonesia, in the world, considering society and also considering nature in the way that we seek for progress as humans. And it's become more and more important for everybody to start thinking like this, not just cash, but actually how do we create greater value for the world. And this is really what Bali Investment Club was found on. And to give you just a quick idea of how we've grown in the last year and a half. So in around mid 2020, the concept for Bali Investment Club was born. It was between four of us here in Bali, and we were talking about the pandemic and what's going on, and obviously Bali being very much affected by the pandemic because of tourism, and looking for a new way to create value and to, let's say, reimagine what Bali could stand for and what we could do in Indonesia and how we could add value. So we spent about 6 months really refining the concept of Bali Investment Club, looking at the financial model, the philosophy, how we were going to go about it. And then we launched just over a year ago. I think it was like 15th or 20th of January. And in that time, we spoke with over 100 companies. We only funded one because what we realized is that not everybody is ready for funding, or at least from an investor's point of view. And this is what we're going to talk about today is investment readiness and finding the right investments. Like for us, we have quite a strict thesis on only supporting impact-driven organizations, and then there's some other checklist points that I'll uncover later in the chat. And so we only backed one company called Bukapeo, and then focused on creating relationships and just understanding the broader Indonesian landscape. In that time, our team actually just grew so much. We're pretty much almost 20 now, so it was amazing to see the support we had around what we're doing. And the main focus for us this year in 2022 is to grow our community. So in terms of partnering with more change makers, more organizations, being able to, let's say, share our knowledge and experience from working in other parts of the world, and infusing that with the Indonesian culture, and obviously all of the things that we as foreigners can learn about how Indonesia operates and what Indonesia needs. So this year we're looking at supporting, I think, like 6 to 10 companies, probably on the 6 to 8 side, because we're quite active in working with each company. So we're very selective, and we want to give everything we can to the companies. So not just access to funding, but actually access to resources, to people, and help them to grow their business. So for us, investing is not just investing cash, it's investing our time. And this is really a big focus at BIC, which is why we also developing our consulting services quite a lot more to really work and get our hands dirty with entrepreneurs. So now we've gone through, Chris went through today's session. So we broke it down into 3 chapters, just talking about the basics, then looking at the investor's view. So what people like Bali Investment Club or myself look for in companies, so that you can really understand how investors think. And then the last session after the break is about self-reflection. And it's really about you as an entrepreneur, as a change maker, how you should think and look at certain situations to get the most out of what you're doing. All right. So I'd like to start with just a quick little question. And this is where I'll ask everybody that's watching to actually comment in the chat, A or B. Super simple question. Would you rather get $1 million in company shares or $1 million in cash? Go. I'm keen to see.
Tom, bisa dua-dua sekali.
Can we choose both? Can you choose both?
Well, that's the question. If you want, you can. But I'd like to see some people. Yes, just to who would rather get $1 million in cash, or who would rather get $1 million in shares, and then I'd like to pick somebody to actually tell me why, so that we can lead into the first subject.
Betul. Jadi rekan-rekan semua, kita sekarang coba berkontemplasi dulu. Kira-kira kalau kita ditawarkan untuk mengambil 1 juta dalam bentuk saham nih, atau dalam bentuk tunai nih, mana yang kita pengen, mana yang kita prefer? Okay, some say that cash would be preferable, probably. Okay, susah banget, ya. Yeah. Agree, Bu.
So then, can I just ask why you choose cash? Why cash over shares?
Wanua Pandrita says saham. Komodo Water says cash. Maybe to help ya, Chris. Siapa yang kata cash, sila berikan reaksi. You can put a thumbs up or whatever reaction on your Zoom so we can see. Yeah, we can see the clicking. Give us a reaction if you say cash.
Okay, one interesting insight, Tom, actually about some say that they prefer to choose share because for the future. Maybe you can elaborate future seperti apa yang mau dimaksud coba. Mungkin boleh nih rekan-rekan dari Wanua Panrita mungkin, atau mungkin dari Solusi Banjir, atau mungkin dari Gamo West.
Okay, that's that's super interesting. I think it's really something to consider, because $1 million in cash is amazing. I can go buy a Ferrari tomorrow, maybe a nice house, live a good life for a while. Or I can also use, the $1 million to invest in a passion project and turn into a real business. So if you have a really good plan for the cash itself, it's always super awesome. And I think from the shares point of view, I like some of the comments, say like, sustainable, good profiting. I think I like the way that you're looking at, creating, greater value. And when we look at shares, let's say like in a company, we're thinking about the future. It's exactly what you guys are saying. It's where's that company going? What's it doing? And how is it going to add value to the world? But then is that $1 million also going to become more? Like if I get $1 million in shares in a company that's like in Series A, if the company does really well, in 3 years' time, that $1 million could be 10. So, but I can't touch that money. I can't use that $1 million. That's the thing. The shares, it's money that's locked away that can grow and give you an amazing future if the company goes well. Whereas the cash is money right now, and you can do what you want with it. You can go party all night in Las Vegas for 6 months, or maybe a month in Las Vegas, or you can use it to build something of your own. So it's really understanding your need for money and what you want to do with it that will help you decide what the right answer for you is. So,
okay. Actually, there is an interesting answer, Tom, from Dini. Do you mind if I pick her up? Pick her to share. Okay, Mbak Dini mungkin boleh Mbak nih. She said that she choose shares, but shares of a good profiting, sustainable company. Okay, this is an interesting point. Mbak Dini, would you like to share more about your answer?
Hello.
Hello, Mbak. Okay,
sorry, not able to share with my screen right now because the provider is not really good. But then, I am choosing shares because I think with shares we can actually invest on, or we can choose to make it with more stakeholders. So just cash. I mean, cash could actually, with your example, shares is more like we can with it.
I think we got technical issues ya. Halo Mbak, kita nggak bisa terlalu mendengar. Untuk ininya agak patah, agak robotik.
Hello. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I think now it's clear.
I can just type. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Dini. That's really insightful. And I see a couple of the answers are coming to that. Nadia also made a cheeky reply, which is take $1 million cash, put some in shares, and work on the passion project as well. So I like the entrepreneurial and long-term spirit on that one too. And then of course the shares it's really about backing a project that you believe is doing a lot of good. So this is really cool to see that you guys are already thinking in that space. So I'm going to be mindful of time and jump to the next slide. So this is kind of answering, this is like the key question is like, why do people invest money? Why do people actually invest money? Why do people bother investing money instead of just spending it? Well, it's simple. We always want more. Like as humans, we generally just want more of everything, but more of what? And so when we look at investing, the concept of investment is talking about the future. It's not rewarding myself right now. It's rewarding my future self and making sure that I can survive and live a happy life. And that when I'm older, I have everything that I need, and I can take care of myself. Now, part of that is so like I said, or I'm mentioning here, it's like, so part of it is survival. It's making sure that we can live healthy, happy lives until the day we die. And some of it is part ego. When you start playing in that game, it becomes this power thing, the social status thing. And a lot of people will invest money not because they need to survive anymore, or because they really care. It's more just to be cooler at dinners. It's like, oh yeah, look at me, you know, I invested in this company and now everyone thinks you're cooler. So that starts telling you a little bit about the philosophy of some investors, and how, depending on the project that you're working on, you're gonna have to understand which investors are looking for what. Are they these kind of ego investors that just want to be the coolest, most powerful people? Are they looking for survival on their own, or actually are they looking for something else? Are they looking to participate in the growth of the world? And this is what leads me to my last question here is, you know, like, what do we invest? Is it just money? The answer is no. We never just invest money. We invest ourselves emotionally. We invest our time. We invest our energy. We invest all of these things. And so when people make investments, there's generally always an emotional connection to a project. You'll back, if you're a fan of cars or a fan of nature, and you have these two projects in front of you, you're going to go to the one, if the money is the same or just about the same, you're going to go with the one that connects with you from an emotional point of view. So this is always also something to keep in mind when you're thinking about investors, is what do they care about if you take money away. And for us entrepreneurs, we spend most of our time investing ourselves. We invest our time, we invest our hearts into the projects that we do, and we invest other people's money into our passion. So understanding what, you know, investment is, and valuing those and valuing that investment. So of course at BIC, we invest in impact driven projects. So we look at companies that do good returns, but we also look at the value, the greater value that they add to society, and especially in Indonesia as a context. So let me go next. So yeah, this is, let me just click through quickly. Okay, cool. We got some time. So something that I get a lot of questions about is a lot of people come to me and say, hey, Tom, listen, I've got this awesome startup. We just got some traction, or I've got a really cool pitch deck, and I want money. I just had a meeting this morning with exactly that scenario where somebody presented a pitch deck to me and asked me for $300,000. And that's it. It's just give me a pitch deck, and it's like, we got this great idea. It's going to be amazing for Bali, and we want $300,000 to start. And then I look at them and I said, like, why'd you come to us? So obviously, Bali Investment Club is getting better known in Bali, so people see us as a source of funding. But if you look at the charts that I've got on the screen here, you'll see that there's actually 15 types of investors that you can get. So Bali Investment Club on this chart will be pretty much like a mix of number 6 venture capital and number 5 angel investors, or 2 potentially personal investors. So what we do is we select companies that we think are strong prospects within our mandate, and then we reach out to our network, and then we tell them, hey, listen, we think this company is great. Put your money in it, and we will manage that investment for you, and we will help the company get there. But with those types of investments, there's also lots of T's and C's. There's always, I'm going to talk about that next, there's always a cost to the money. Money's never free. Nobody just walks up to you and gives you a check for $300,000. That doesn't really exist. Everybody has an agenda, and everybody is expecting some form of return. And so when you're looking for money for your company, there's two schools of thinking. It's am I a for-profit company, and do I need to go after for-profit investors, or am I a non-profit, and do I need to only go for grants? I think this myth is not really real, and just exists in people's minds. There's no rule as to who you should get. It's not because you're NPO that you have to go for grants only and you don't have access to traditional investment. It's really about where you are in your timeline, in your business, and what money you actually need. Do you really need $300,000 right now to start, or do you just need 10? And then in 6 months, you need 50 or something like that. So really think about what is the real money that you really need right now, and who is the best person to go after. You could go to crowdfunding platform if it's a big social project and people speak about it online. You could get people, like everyday people, to support you, and that's an easy way to raise money, and there's less strings attached. You could go to a bank if you just need a loan or some form of lender and say, listen, I don't want to give equity, I'm making some cash, I just need somebody to finance a purchase order or something like this. Is just like a debt for the next 6 months. So then you can also go into the startup contests and look at like getting grants, and it's because you're presenting a really good idea and people think there's potential, and there's governments or there's funds that will actually give money to companies and to people that they think are doing good projects. So I'd invite you to look at kind of these different sources of money, because there's really a lot of money everywhere, and it's just understanding the playing field and who you need to approach. And this is what I'd like to continue sharing with you. So the last point for this little session is understanding the cost of capital. And there's always a cost attached to the cash. It's what we call a double-edged sword. Is usually people think, oh, I'm taking on debt, it's like it's a weight on me, oh no, I owe somebody money, and I don't want to do that. So I'll rather go for equity deal, which is kind of like free money. It's like, cool, I get $100,000, I give them 10% of my business, and it didn't cost me anything. But actually the cost is super high, because when you give equity or a part of your business or your project to somebody else, you can't take it back. You give it to them forever. And generally what happens is when your business grows, the value of your business becomes greater and the value of the shares become greater. So what we really invite companies to do is to really educate them on the cost of capital and say, listen, debt may not be such a bad idea at the beginning, because, okay, yes, it could be a stress that you have to repay, but it also frees you in the future when your company is bigger and you need more cash. And now you can get more cash and give less equity away. So this is something we always advise companies to really think about, is what's best for you right now. If you're early in the business, maybe debt is better. If you need more partnership help or real help, then maybe equity is better, because then investors will get involved and see the long-term value. And sometimes you can mix the two. You can do debt later where you don't want to issue equity, you just need some working capital or some cash flows. So understanding the cost of capital is very important when you start thinking about why you need money and how much money you need. So quick question on this, maybe somebody from that's watching can answer. Whoops, is have any of you received external funding or external grants? And what deal did you go for and why? And have you potentially considered doing any collaboration between a non-profit and a for-profit? This would be, I'd really like to get one of the teams to share their experience quickly.
Ya, di sini mungkin rekan-rekan semua yang sebelumnya sudah punya inisiatif dan sudah pernah melaksanakan mungkin kayak external fundings atau grants, probably I'm definitely sure that some of you already did this. Ada kan grant lebih besar daripada yes. Share your opinion through the WhatsApp chat, the Zoom chat, and probably we can also having a small discussion in here. Jadi pertanyaannya, pernahkah kamu mendapatkan pemodalan eksternal atau dana hibah? Apa kesepakatannya dan kenapa begitu? Dan terakhir, bagaimana dengan kolaborasinya atau non-profit dan juga untuk profit? Begitu.
Yeah. So I'm seeing one of the comments from Ramaut. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, could you tell us your story quickly? So what grant did you get, and what was kind of like, the offer or the expectations behind it?
But first, I want to ask, is like a request for proposal, is it include grant as well in your category?
Well, generally a grant is free cash. So could you maybe explain what your RFP was about?
Okay, so I'm one of the mentor here actually in the CCL event. I'm running a social enterprise called Suarais, and we're focusing in promoting inclusive digital ecosystem for people with disability, with the focus of inclusive recruitment and digital accessibility on the online platform. So one of our key activities is train visually impaired people digital content writing, and it has been like a program every years. So for the grant without specific purpose, we got two. One from Kotak Shikan, that is for promoting information about what is the capacity that visually impaired people have in terms of digital capacity and digital content writing. And the second is the grant is from another competition called Connecting for the Unconnected. It's from the IEE.org. It's from United States. So it's come from actually competitions, and there is no specific terms for that, but we give our proposal and concept, and we got the best overall concept, which is the highest prize from the competitions. So that is for the grant, which labeled as grant. But another side is we also give support in running our recurring program, like the digital content writings, and the grant, we were being requested to submit our own the proposal for our program to a specific entity like ILO, International Labor Organizations, and the activity being sponsored by them for half a year. So is that classified as a grant as well, in your opinion? But basically the RFP is like, well, we do the program as per details, and then they give the money that we need to running the program.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually really amazing. Thank you for sharing this. So this is pretty much, this goes back to, let's say, my initial point is, why do people invest? Like, if you look at, that grant is obviously, they have they have a social agenda that they need to what's it called, to be measured against. So like generally how grants operate is they'll have like X amount of money that they can give each year, and they have to give that money to people that are working within the concept or within the context of what they're operating on, so within their mandate. And what I find quite interesting is, and correct me if I didn't understand you correctly, but they basically said, we'll give you money if you do this for us, if you develop this program for us or with us. So there's an exchange, there's let's say some form of contract in place where they give you something, you give them something in return. And grants generally don't expect financial return, but they do want you to add, let's say, to the body of knowledge in that space, or to find solutions that will help them solve their own problems in a different country or something like this. So this is the type of value that generally grants expect. And it's really cool to see that, like you're obviously Indonesia based, right? Suarais, that you'd have, like an Indonesian project being, let's say, put forward on the international level to solve a greater problem. So this is the value exchange that I was mentioning, and you can look at grants as an investor, and they're investing in your capacity to help solve a problem that they need to solve on their side too. So this is really, this is really cool. And then grants, of course, as you saw, and this is for the other people, is they're not free. It's not like, okay, cool, here's money and we never speak to you again. There's an expectation behind the money. And so that's when it's important to understand the cost and saying like, cool, are we ready to deliver against that expectation, so that you create a good relationship with those people, and potentially look at securing another grant from the same partner. And this is when, let's say, your project can become sustainable, is when the people issuing grants are happy to give you the same grant or a growing grant over and over. And now you're creating sustainability within your own project. And this is really amazing. So thank you for sharing your story. I'd like to, okay, we almost good on time. So I'd like to launch the second part here. It's called the investor's view. So now we're going to move into this funny question. I chose the little angel and the devil just to be cheeky with you guys. But so, do you think that investors are with you or against you?
This is interesting question.
Tank, we've all seen a lot of things on TV and on media, different stories. So in your view, do you think investors are with you or against you?
Oke. Ini menarik banget nih pertanyaannya. Apakah menurut rekan-rekan semua investor itu berada di pihak kita, atau justru ada di sisi yang berkebalikan daripada kita, atau sebagai lawan dalam hal ini? Boleh mungkin share your thoughts in the Zoom chat.
So it's not, I made it an A/B question just to get the conversation going. It doesn't have to be an A/B, and this is what I'll chat about shortly before we lead into the next chapter. Thinking. Good. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of comments. I think everybody is clearly thinking about the question. So I'm going to make it, let's say, a little bit easier for you and say that it's both A and B. And the reason is super simple, is that investors have to take care of themselves, or they have to represent their own interests. So for instance, for Bali Investment Club, we usually invest a bit of our personal money into the projects, but usually we have other investors or people with money come to us and say, hi, Tom, listen, I've got $50,000 that I'd like to invest in an impact project in Indonesia. Can you invest my money in a good project? And I say, yes, of course. I know Bukapeo, I know Recosystem, I know Indosol. We busy fundraising for them right now, so I can invest your money in there. So then I go to, for instance, Recosystem, and I say, okay, guys, listen, I've got $50,000 to give you, and this will help you push your project. And of course, we're going to spend time talking about strategy, how to spend it wisely, how to grow your business. And so I'm with you. I'm in that context. I'm with you. I'm going to give you this money and help you grow your business. But at the same time, I'm representing my investors' cash, and my investors expect me to make sure that $50,000 becomes at least $51,000. So there's an expectation on my back, and I'm going to be monitoring you while I'm working with you to make sure that you spend that money wisely, and that you turn it into more money, you turn it into a greater return. And if I think, or if I see that you're not managing the cash properly, or you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then I'm going to be a bit more strict and be like, listen, we need to change something in the company here. This is not working. You're not making this company run. We need to change the way maybe management is structured. We need to maybe think about evolving your business in a way so that we create those returns. So the investor, as much as they want to only focus on you and help you to grow, they have to consider their investment, which is usually cash. And especially if it's somebody else's money, let's say my reputation or BIC's reputation is on the line if we invest in a project and the project fails. So if we see a project going in a dangerous direction, then we're going to be much more strict with the startup and be like, listen, guys, you need to get your shit together, because otherwise we may have to exercise some of the clauses in the contract that means that we end up getting a bigger share of your business, or that we have to force you to pay back the money, and you can go all the way down to liquidating the company, selling everything that the company has to sell to get some of that money back. Even if it's not 50,000, maybe we can recover 10. So the question here is, well, the answer here is it's really A and B. And in a way, it's a good thing. And that's just the nature of the transaction, is we have to help, but we have to help ourselves at the same time. And it's important for companies to really be aware of the consequences of accepting external money. As soon as you accept external money, you become responsible for that person's money. So this is something I'll touch up. I'll touch on a little bit later in the presentation. So why the investment thesis? Super simple. When you're looking at any person that invests in you, it's always about returns. It's always about returns. When I'm giving you something, I'm expecting something back. Just like the case we had with Surrise, we give you a grant, we expect you to develop a program that we can implement from our side. It's super simple. The returns don't have to be financial. Returns, it's really giving something back to the investor. And depending on the project that you're on, depending on the investor that you're after, they will value different returns in different ways. For instance, the grants, they don't care about getting money back as long as you're helping society and you're helping the agenda. That's the return. That's the value you're creating. If you're going to a bank, they don't care about the impact. They care that you give them back the $50,000 plus 18% on a set schedule. Super simple. Some companies, let's say like Bali Investment Club, we look at a mix of the two and we say like, okay, cool. How can we provide healthy financial returns for our investors? So something that's, better than putting your money in the bank or investing in gold or something like this. But how are we going to create impact from the companies that we back in? How is that money going to contribute to the well-being of Indonesia? So for Bukapeo, for example, we give them money. We expect money back in a couple of years' time. But what we do expect of them is to really help the lower part of Indonesia society and the whole informal economy, and say, okay, cool, Bukapeo is there to help micro entrepreneurs deliver services online that they couldn't do before, and to help them make more money, and to lift the bottom of the economy more up, and to make those people more prosperous. And this is an expectation that BIC has against Bukapeo, and that's the return that we're expecting is value created. And this is what our investors also want to see is, are you really doing good with Bukapeo? Otherwise, you could have just invested in some tech or some crypto that doesn't serve the world, it just serves cash. So to this point, I really want to mention that it's about learning who is looking for what and filtering your audience. When you're reaching out to investors or to somebody for money, understand what their agenda is. Are they just looking for cash back, or are they looking for a greater social value? So really take your time to filter your audience, because there's so many types of investors out there. You as an entrepreneur, you don't want to waste your time running around looking for cash. You want to invest your time in building your project, and raising money should only take a really small chunk of the total time you spend every day. So really look at, I'll share this, well, this presentation will be available to you, but really look at the different types of investors and understand which are the ones you need to go after, so you make the most of your time and you get answers quicker. Next, where are we next? Cool. So what makes you investable? We almost, we're doing okay for time. So what makes you investable? So it's 2 steps, super simple. The first one is what we call the mandate fit. Your project has to be aligned to what we represent. And at Bali Investment Club, we make that super clear. We put it on our website, the 6 check boxes. And for us, we won't be able to take the conversation further with you if you don't check those boxes. So for BIC, super simple. you have to operate in Indonesia. We only support Indonesian companies. Your company has to have a clear impact agenda. You need to have, your business needs to be infused with positive impact for society and or the environment. It's not like, okay, we do something bad, but then we also do a bit of good on the side. No, you doing something good that's actually a business. And then generally there's a value match on that sense. You've also gotten some traction. So we avoid investing in pitch decks because it's very risky. And for us, it's also very lazy from the investors, from the startups to come to us and say like, oh, here, I spent 5 hours making a pitch deck, give me $100,000. No, I want to see that with or without money, you're going to follow your dream and you're going to make this happen. And this is the motivation we need to see. And then with that motivation, we want to see if you've invested your own money. So you've invested time, sure, but have you invested your own money? Have you, invested your friends' money, family's money? Have you gotten money before? Has somebody believed in you before you met us that makes us want to continue believing in you? And then of course, are you communicating your idea in a clear way that helps me understand what you're doing in very little time? And that also shows me that you know how to think about your business and how to communicate the value that you're creating. So mandate fit is definitely the most important step. And this will help you also filter. Like for us, we can't take conversations forward if we don't meet that because we have too many applications. So it's a really efficient filter to make the most of everybody's time. And then, of course, the second thing we look at when there's a mandate fit is your potential. And the 4 main things in how we look at your potential is the team. It's the people. We don't invest in companies, we invest in people. And everybody invests in people. Do we believe that you're the right person to take this project forward? Do we believe that you can solve problems as they come, that you can adapt, that you can change the way that a sector is operating, or that you're going to be disruptive or create real value? Are you the right person to do that? Is then the market big enough for you to grow? Are you solving a problem within just a single village and it's so specific to that village that you can't implement it anywhere else? Or is that idea or is your idea scalable? Can you bring it out across all the villages, and can you bring it out across all the islands in Indonesia? And can you actually then take it to the rest of the world? Is your idea solving a problem that most humans on the planet actually need? And you're going to start small and you can make it big. Then of course, the metrics. What numbers are you sharing with us? Which numbers do you think are important for your business? And we want to see if you understand which numbers we look at to understand if your business is going well. What are your margins? What's your revenue? How much? What's your loyalty? Do people shop from you once and then they never shop again? Or do they shop from you once and they love you so much that they're going to shop with you for the rest of your life? The metrics and the traction that you have is super important. We don't care if you're profitable. What we care is to see that people like you, and they like you because you're delivering value to them. And then finally, and also, it's a deal breaker, and it's a bit of a pun, but it's the deal itself. It's what are you willing to give for the money that you're asking? When we talk about a grant, it's like, cool, you're asking for $50,000, but are you willing to give us that program in 1 week or in 2 months when we need it? Are you willing to put in that time? Are you willing to give away 10% of your business for that money? Are you willing to accept this kind of interest rate? What is the deal made of? And is the deal a short-term deal, or is it a long-term deal? What kind of relationship are you expecting from us? And these are all things that we have to consider before making the final call. So I'm going to finish this section with a little example from Buka.po, and this is really the key thing. Once we've really, let's say, ticked off the match, then we look at the timeline. Do the timelines actually match? And this is your need for money versus our need to invest in a company. And I'm going to talk about Book.po quickly. And with Sir Olaf CEO and founder of Book.po, he came to me in January last year. And he just launched Book.po in October, 3 months before. And he's like, listen, Tom, I'm starting Book.po. I'd love Bali Investment Club to back us. I'd like $100,000. Can you give it to me? And then I said, Olaf, listen, do you need the money right now? And he's like, I can survive for a little bit longer. And I'm like, okay, that is great, because right now it's a no. It's too risky for us. You're too fresh, and you haven't validated your business idea yet. You just launched. Nobody really knows if people actually like Book.po. So this is what we'll do. I will help you think about your business and give you some insights on how to grow it. And let's keep in touch. And in 6 months' time, let's review your case again and make a call. And 6 months later, Olaf came back to me with what happened in that time. And he'd managed to not only survive during the second year of COVID, but he'd managed to actually grow his business a little bit every month without any external money. And for us, that was a signal that Olaf was the type of person that we wanted to back. And then the timelines were a match. We were ready to invest in him, and he was ready to accept the money. The deal was signed super quickly, and we managed to get him the cash in a couple of weeks. And now he's grown much faster than anybody expected. And we've had to open a second round for him to really carry him on that growth trajectory. So the timeline match is super important. And for you to also understand when you're dealing with investors is the timing. And it generally doesn't happen in a week. It's very, very rare that a deal happens in a week or even in a month. You can expect between 1 and 12 months for a relationship to be built, for the investors to understand who you are, what you need, and to have that timeline match. And sometimes it's a no, but it's a no for now. It's not a no forever. It's not that we don't like you. It's just we don't think you're ready for funding from us yet, or we're not ready to fund you yet because we're funding other companies. So right now we're funding Book.po round 2, Recosystem, and Indosol, and it's not reasonable for us to open a fundraising for a 4th company before we've closed one of the 3. So we're in conversations with other startups, and we said, listen, guys, as soon as the first company is funded, we can open for you so that we can also honor the timeline and their cash flows. And to close this section off, I think we're almost very good on time, is have any of you met real world, or let's say like real investors before? So more in the VCs or on the angels, and who did you approach? Who did you contact? How did it go? And maybe what were the main 1 or 2 questions that they asked you?
Oke, kalau tadi di sesi sebelumnya kita sudah ditanyakan tentang apakah kita pernah dapat external fundings. Kalau sekarang lebih spesifik, apakah kita pernah bertemu dengan investors before, sebelumnya gitu, terkait dengan investasi terhadap organisasi kita. Terus bagaimana cara kita mendekati mereka, bagaimana strategi kita untuk match with the agenda of the investors, dan bagaimana itu terjadi, bagaimana hal itu berjalan. Dan the last but not least, pertanyaan apa yang kita boleh tanyakan dalam case itu terhadap para investor. This will be an interesting sharing session for the change maker yang mungkin sudah punya pengalaman. You could share so that the others yang mungkin belum punya pengalaman bisa belajar dan bisa cari tahu lebih lanjut supaya nanti mungkin ada potensial investasi di masa yang akan datang. That would be an interesting sharing session buat rekan-rekan mungkin yang sudah punya. And also rekan-rekan yang boleh juga join di YouTube session itu boleh juga drop the question in the chat box juga. Nanti teman-teman panitia dari Yayasan Anak Bangsa Bisa dan juga Siap akan membantu untuk forward the questions to Tom, so that Tom probably will also answer the question in YouTube channel. So it's not only exclusive for those who attend in Zoom session, but also those who attend in YouTube channel. So feel free to ask. Atau feel free juga to discuss.
Thanks for that, Chris. I think you brought up a very important point. Rakan-rakan di YouTube sila bertanya. While the rest of our friends here berfikir, maybe I might want to just flag a little bit about what Tom said, which I think is like, yeah, benar banget ya, and super, super important. One is you need to, the investors will want to know you, right? So you will have to be able to tell your story well. But at the same time, it is your responsibility to also know what type of investors are right for you. Vice versa, ya, because, you know, kalau pengen ada perhubungan, you need to be able to understand what exactly is the relationship that you are in. And in Bahasa Malaysia, we call it muhasabah diri. You have to be able to really mirror and ask yourself these tough questions of, for example, what Tom highlighted earlier. Is it really the right time for you to be seeking an investor, or should you be focusing on perfecting your craft first before going to look for an investor? So maybe I might share a little bit. Not so long time ago, I had set up a social enterprise, and just after an investor's pitch or an innovation day pitch, we were approached by a potential investor that was really interested in putting money in the little project that we were in, or the little effort that we were in. But the offer then, of course, Tom, to that point, was equity, right? They wanted X amount of equity in the idea that we had, in the project that we had. But after what we did as founders, we came together and we thought about it. And instead of, you know, of course, you know, the prospect of being given money, or the prospect of being given financial stability to grow, was siapa yang nggak mau, kan? But at the same time, we asked ourselves and we dig deep, what is it that we want to do? And what is it, because kerana sebagai founder, to Tom's point, are they with you or are they against you? You have to also understand what is your North Star metrics. Because if their North Star metrics is hyper growth, but your North Star metrics is community activation first. Sebagai contoh ya, kerana anda semua bisa melakukan dampak di sekitar kelestarian air ataupun mengurangi risiko bencana hidrometeorologi. So there's a lot of things that you have to put in place first before you can show the kind of scale or the kind of impact that you want. So short end of the story was, we had that conversation. We told them, thank you very much. We're honored that you are interested in us, but we don't feel that we are ready yet for such, a partnership, right? But I think what is important is, if you manage your stakeholders well, you don't burn bridges. It doesn't mean that you are like riak, yeah, like you think you're so cool, right? You just tell them honestly, said, I don't think we're ready yet, but you know, when we are, I hope that you would be open to us coming back to you in future, because it is about timing. It is also about really knowing yourself. If you overcommit and you cannot deliver what the investors are asking of you, you are not only going to be in a legal hot soup, you are also going to destroy the goodwill that you have as an organization. So you have to be super careful about the kind of relationships. So yeah, I just wanted to put some thoughts there.
Yeah, that was really amazing. Thank you for explaining it so well. And this is, I think this actually talks to the little quote that I shared with you guys. It's be honest with yourself and be honest with the investor. For me, the biggest connections I've created with startups is when they say, listen, Tom, I actually don't know, or I'm not sure, or maybe I think I need to wait. And it's like, that's amazing. Like, this is much better than you going on a deal that, you know, maybe we made a hard offer or something like this. Like, you taking a step back is totally okay. And what you said, it's really about the attitude. If you're going to be arrogant and say like, oh yeah, they're giving me an offer and I got 2 other offers and I'm going to play hard to get, I'm going to go like this, cheers. And you can, and then I will walk away and you'll be like, oh, it's fine, I've got 2 other deals, and those other deals fall through. And then what? You've just lost 3 investors with bad attitude, and those 3 investors will never invest in you again. And if they invest in you again, the offer you will get will be so much harder that you will regret not being good about it in the first place. So it's really managing, let's say, you know, your attitude and being humble when you speak, and honest when you're speaking to investors is the best thing you can do, because it's also a small community. Every VC, every investor in Indonesia reviews almost the same pitch decks. The like BIX competition or other VCs and stuff, we all go through the same pitch decks and we call each other. We say like, hey, listen, did you see Recosystem's pitch deck? What do you think of the guys? And then they'll tell us straight away what they think. And if we smell, you know, attitude or bad ego, then we will walk away. So understanding, you know, like your attitude going forward is super important. And I just replied in the actually in the chat. I got a lot of like not yet and sad faces. You don't need to be. You shouldn't be sad. Like not reaching out to people yet is good because it gives you time, especially from the session, to prepare better and to understand how to approach investors better. And then to this, as we're about to jump on the break, is that practice makes perfect. And this is also really cool, is like, even if you think you're not ready, just do it anyways, because you're going to get such valuable information from that session. Even if they ask you horrible questions and they say, listen, you're not prepared, don't talk to us again. Like whatever they say to you is going to be an experience for you, and it's going to help you be more prepared and more informed when it happens. Just remember, this is just the last little line before the break. Jeff Bezos presented, I think, to like a couple hundred VCs or like some stupid number of companies that rejected him for Amazon. And he's the richest man in the world now. So practice really makes perfect. And I'm pretty sure that Jeff Bezos would say, I didn't fail 400 times or 100 times. I just understood 400 ways to pitch better for the next person and to find the right match, to find the investor that I have a personal relationship with and where we can grow together. So practice makes perfect. And if you haven't done it now, you can think of your approach better so that you can approach people that are already closer to the right match and make the most of your time. And this is what I want to see, is I want to help entrepreneurs get back to running their show. I don't want to waste their time sitting with me for hours unless it's work related. I really want to see investors being focused on what drives them forward. And that's by having conversations that are a good initial fit from the get-go. So thank you for listening to the session so far and for participating. I'm not too sure how many minutes we have for break, but we'll catch up for the follow-up soon.
Okay, thank you, Tom, for the amazing sessions about the first chapter and the second chapter. So we believe that at this point, we gain a lot of knowledge, we gain a lot of insights from you. We are very, very we are so ready for also hearing the next chapter after the break. So I would like to say that after this, we will have the break session. Kita akan ada punya 5-minute break, seperti yang sudah disampaikan mungkin tadi di awal, kalau kita akan punya break sampai pukul 15.07. Jadi rekan-rekan mungkin boleh stretching dulu, boleh peregangan dulu, boleh ambil minum dulu, boleh mungkin kalau rekan-rekan yang mungkin ada di waktu untuk sholat, boleh sholat dulu, silahkan. Nanti kita akan kembali lagi pukul 15.07. Sampai ketemu lagi rekan-rekan semua pukul 15.07.
Cool. 5 minutes, yeah?
Yeah, 5 minutes. Oke, rekan-rekan semua, sekarang kita sudah 15.08, so I think that ends our break session. Aku harap rekan-rekan semua sudah kembali lagi ke sini dan sudah siap untuk mendengarkan chapter selanjutnya. Tadi mungkin kalau kita boleh sedikit recall ke chapter yang sebelumnya, we talk about that investor is just like pertandingan gitu loh. It's about the investor agenda versus your need for cash, for example, or for fun, for example. So it's kita belajar tentang perspektif dari investornya nih. Kira-kira apa sih yang ingin investor lihat dari seorang yang mencari investasi gitu loh. Nah, kalau di sesi selanjutnya, ini sedikit bocoran buat rekan-rekan semua, kalau di sesi selanjutnya kita akan belajar tentang dari sisi kita sebagai orang yang mencari investasinya gitu loh. Kalau tadi kita belajar dari sisi investor, kita akan belajar sekarang ini dari sisi kita sebagai pencari investasi. So this is will be a very relatable sessions buat orang-orang yang sedang mencari dan mau belajar tentang bagaimana investasi. So with that further ado, I would like to give the opportunity to Tom to also continue the session into the chapter 3 and to share the knowledge, the experience, the insight to all of us. So time is yours, Tom.
Great, wonderful. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just opening the chat. So we go, okay, sweet. So chapter 3, we are getting closer. So quick question. What does your business or what does your project need most? Does it need help or does it need cash? A or B? If you could, share some answers with me, that'll be really cool, because this is really going to lead into the last session here. Good, money.
Yes, money. All right, so it's about help atau cash, itu bantuan atau modal. Both, yeah, I like both.
Cheeky. That's good. Yeah, by the way, I love how Zoom does the transcription when you speak Bahasa. It just doesn't understand what's going on and just funniest commentary. This will be really epic to read the transcript later. Okay, so while we're getting more answers, we got 2 B's, and then we've got 2 boths. So for the people that said both, the people that said B, impressive, because it means that you genuinely believe that you have everything you need to run your business by yourself, and all you need is cash. So big well done on that. If that's really what you think that's the only thing that's missing from your project. For those that say both, that is generally, let's say, the more like general answer, or the question that we always ask startups. It's like, okay, cool. So, and this is also relates to the meeting that I had this morning. I told you, they came to me and they said, okay, cool, we need $300,000. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like, what else do you need? Like, do you really only need $300,000? And then immediately they were like, no, well, actually we need a CFO, we need a supply chain manager, we need somebody to help us unlock distribution, or somebody to do this. And it's like, okay, now this is becoming interesting, because money really doesn't create happiness, and it really doesn't solve everybody's problems. Cash is always important, and it's always good to have in personal life, and of course in a project, because you can pay the bills and you can do what you need. But generally you need people and you need help to make things happen. And most of us have, in our lives, have received training in generally like a specific set of skills. So we're not masters at everything that a business or that a project needs. Sometimes we're very good with numbers, but we're less good with people or with certain sides of operations. So there's generally always a hole in your business. And when you're looking for cash, you say, okay, cool, well, I'm going to use the cash and I'm going to hire those people. So that's already a good step forward. But generally, what really takes a business from here to there is really the network. and the access to network in terms of building relationships and business partners. And so sometimes when you think you actually need money, what you need is just somebody that likes you, that was going to open doors for you, and those doors are going to bring in the cash. So when you're going to an investor, always be very clear about what you actually need, and be honest about it, and say, listen, we obviously need cash for XYZ, but we need support, or we need help in those things. And this is where the matchmaking will happen, because some investors will have very strong networks in certain sectors, and they'll be like, okay, listen, we're going to give you $500,000, and we're also going to give you access to our distribution network, and we're going to be able to then get your product sold across the globe or whatever. So always think about what is the actual help you need, and what is the help that you can solve with cash, that you can solve yourself by just hiring people, and what is the help that you can't solve with cash, like accessing network or distribution network. That's all relationships driven. You don't usually go to somebody, give them $10,000 and be like, cool, open this network for me. They're going to be like, no, my network is worth way more. So you got to think about those two things. So next, why funding? So those are the two questions I have I'll be unpacking. And then of course, the cherry on top is the pitching itself. So why funding? Why get funding? Do you really need money right now? And what is it for? Have you really thought about why you need money? I have so many companies that have come to me that say, okay, Tom, we need $100,000. Okay, cool. You need $100,000. We got that out the way. But what for? How are you going to spend that money? And a lot of the people, and it's really surprising sometimes, is they can't answer you, or at least they have to think about that question for a minute or two before they answer. And it's like, guys, you can't come to me and ask me for money and not tell me what you're going to use it for. I want to see at least a pretty broad understanding of how you're going to spend that cash. Are you going to put in dev? Or are you going to do purchase orders? How you're going to spend that money, and how you're going to transform that into more money. We as investors, we can't give $100,000 to a company and wait for them to figure out how to spend it. The best way to receive money is already knowing how you're going to spend it, so that the day we give it to you, you can start spending it and making that money work for your project. Now, the second point is money the only thing you need? Do you need help? Do you need collaboration? Do you need to, maybe if you're a nonprofit, do you maybe need to collaborate with a for-profit business, and then you guys have a synergy and you actually help fill each other's agenda? Do you really need the money right now? Like, are you and your business ready for it? What we've experienced, and this is generally with companies that start growing out of seed and towards Series A, is when you're raising $500,000 or starting to raise quite a bit more money, that money becomes activity in your business. And that means that all of a sudden there's 50 new employees or 50 new team members. Are you ready? And are your co-founders ready to become managers? Right now, maybe before you were managing, one or two people, and that was fine, but are you ready to start managing 20 people within the space of a month? It's a completely different ballgame. So are you actually ready for the funding? Can you put that money to work? And are you as a human being ready to take on that responsibility, that expectation that you have? Because now you're no longer a master of your ship. As soon as you accept external money, you are responsible for that investor, and you will be held accountable for that. So are you ready for it? Do you need it? Do you really need the cash right now? If I told you you're not getting any money, would you still be able to take your project forward? And this is what investors really want to see, is like, if we say no, will you survive? And if you can show us that you'll survive, then we'll feel confident to put money in you. And then, of course, to what end? What is the end game? Why do you need the cash? What are you trying to build? Are you trying to build a project? And if the project makes $100,000 a year and everybody gets paid and you deliver great value, to society, and you're contributing that makes you happy, and for you it's a success? Or are you looking to be Indonesia's next unicorn and you want to take your company all the way to IPO? You need to know where your business or where your project is heading. What's the end game? What's the end goal? What is your vision? Do you want to go crazy big, or are you happy with just reaching a certain level and then being consistent going forward? And this will really impact the type of investors that you get. So some investors, and this is more, let's say, like personal investors or like lower capital investors, will be like, you know what, if you give me 2 times the money back or 1.5 times the money back within the next 3 to 5 years, I'm super happy, because you'll have done great work. And then for me, it's like placing it in the bank, but it's creating more social value than just putting the money in the bank. But you have other companies, and that's generally the VCs and the private equity, that will say, listen, if you just want money to reach this level, we're not going to give it to you, because we want you to go to this level, and we don't want to force you to do that. You have to want that yourself. So really think about, why are you seeking funding, and what's your end goal, and when is the right time for you to seek that money, and what are you willing to give for that cash? The next point, and this I already spoke about it a little bit, is are you ready? Are you ready for the road ahead? Do you understand how your business, how your life, how your actual life is going to change when you bring on that money? Like, you're going to maybe have to work 18 hours a day for the next 6 months. Are you ready to do this? Or is your family aware that you're going to be spending less time at home? Are you ready for the investor due diligence? And this is pretty much the research that we do into you. Is we're going to look at your finances, we're going to look at your akta, we're going to speak to your business partners, we're going to speak to your employees. Are you ready to put your pants down in front of an investor? Because we need to see what we're dealing with, and we're going to do our research and look for dirt, because it's a risk, and we can't risk our reputation and our livelihoods if we don't do proper research on you. We want to walk in with open eyes. So are you ready to be scrutinized by an investor? And if you think you're not, then maybe start doing a bit of preparation on that and saying, okay, cool, can I speak to somebody that will help me be ready for the due diligence, which is what you will go through on any investment proposal. Even grants, I'm pretty sure, have quite strict due diligence requirements to make sure that their money is well spent. And then, of course, what should your business look like? And for Bali Investment Club, how we look at it is, we want to see that you're taking on an MVP approach to building your project. And MVP stands for minimum viable product. And we want to see that you have a vision for this crazy big ecosystem where you're doing a bunch of services and products, and you're doing all of these amazing things. But this is what your business will look like in 5 years. And there's no ways that you can start by running 10 different business units or 10 different activities. We want to see that you understand your core. If you take all the fancy features around your product or your service, what is the one thing that you are going to be very good at and that you're going to add value to in my life? And this is the MVP approach. It's saying, okay, cool, we want an app with 10 features on it, but we're going to start with the one most important feature, and we're going to get that right, and we're going to get people to love us for it. And once they start loving us and we have a bit more time, then we will implement a second great feature, and then a third one, and then a fourth one. So building your features over time. And you can see on this pyramid, there's that slice on the left, which is creating the first slice of the pyramid and saying that's the first feature. And it works. It works every time. It's reliable, it's easy to use, and it's delightful, and I enjoy it. And make me happy with just one thing. And once you write at that, then you can add the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And then just to really wrap up on the slide is, do you understand the road ahead and the time that it's going to take you to actually go through the hoops of the conversation and the due diligence before you get the cash. So I put for you there the journey, the investment journey for Bali Investment Club, and it's an 8-step, or it's like a 7-step process. And this is something that nobody can escape, and every investor is going to have a very similar journey. You have to first apply, and then mandate. Then you're going to have a first conversation. Conversation is going to become an internal conversation. Based on that internal conversation, we'll probably chat with you a bunch more, do some research. We'll give you then maybe like a deal sheet and say, okay, cool, this is the deal we're thinking of. And then we're going to ask our legal team to talk to your legal team and look at all your legal documents, making sure that we're sending money to a real company that's structured in the right way. Once we've signed that, then we'll raise the cash, or we'll have the cash ready. We'll transfer it to you, and that can take generally like a couple of weeks to a couple of months. And then we'll look at doing this ongoing support and saying like, okay, cool, how can we help you on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis to help you grow your business? And how do we then help you for the next stage of funding? What a lot of the funds want to do, or a lot of the investors, is we don't want to just invest in you once and go away. We want to start a relationship with you, and growing a business is a multi-year thing. So we're going to become friends. Like, we're going to end up, going for drinks and not even talk about work. We're entering into a real relationship. So are you ready to get married to an investor? Now, it doesn't mean that you're stuck with them for life, but you should expect that there's a relationship being built, and that relationship might last the duration of your project. And it could be a couple of months, or it could be a couple of years. So are you really ready to really for this road ahead? And then go. And then we go to boom, boom, boom. So last very cool, very important slide for us investors is the famous pitch. And what makes a great pitch? What makes a winning pitch? What makes us say, wow, these people are people that we want to back? So it's two things. It's I've wrote it there. It's emotions meets facts. That's a vision and understanding who you're talking to. What's really important when startups come to me is when they know who I am. They've looked me up on LinkedIn. They've gone through Bali Investment Club's entire website. They actually understand the companies that we're backing. They've done their research on me, and they're going to me and saying, listen, we like what Bali Investment Club stands for. We've seen what you guys are up to, and we think we're a good match. And immediately I said, okay, cool. I'm going to listen to you a little bit more closely because you invested your time in understanding what's important to me. And then the pitch itself, of course, is the story that you're telling. And that's where I said the emotions and the facts. And it's really a two-side thing. It's the heart effect. It's, am I connecting on an emotional level with the story that you're telling me? Are you making me feel something during your presentation? Am I getting shivers down my spine? Or is it just flat and boring? And what are the facts that you're bringing along? What is the market research that you've done? What kind of traction have you gotten? What are the numbers that you can share in terms of what you've achieved and your projections as a business? So many people come to us and then I'll ask them, it's like, okay, so how much are you thinking of making this year? And they say, oh, hold on a second. And they go back to the pitch deck to look for that number. And it's like, guys, you're the creator of this project. You should know these things off by heart. Those numbers should be engraved in your mind. You mustn't ever go back to a pitch deck and say like, oh no, let me think about these numbers. These things you need to know, because if you don't know them, who knows them? And if nobody knows them, how can we trust you? Super, super simple. And then of course, the last element here, it's really you. You as the presenter are the hero of your project or your company. You are the hero of your own story, and we're going to invest in you. And here I put a little image of the, Forbes Asia 30 under 30, and what makes these 6 people on the front page of Forbes? it's them, it's what they're projecting as individuals and what they represent. And when we invest in people, this is exactly what we do. We invest in people. We say, wow, that person really believes in their idea. If you come to me and as soon as I ask you the first difficult question, I can see you looking down and being shy, I'm going to think like, okay, are they just, shy in front of the crowd? Or do they not really believe in their business? Do they not really believe in their idea? And if I start having doubts that you believe in your own idea, how do you expect me to believe in your idea? So if there's one person in the world that has to believe this is going to work, it's got to be you. And you've got to make me feel that. You've got to make me feel that you really believe it, and you got to communicate with me clearly whatever I don't understand and whatever concerns I have, to make me relax into this new thing that you're presenting to me, and this request that you have, of course, for cash. So really look at yourself, how you present yourself when you're speaking to people, and how you present yourself literally, physically, how you dress. My experience with you will make me decide if I want to follow you or not. I had a company the other day where I organized an introduction session with an investor, and 3 minutes before the video call, they canceled. And I said, oh, sorry, something's come up. I didn't realize I can't make the call. And I was shocked. I was just like, are you serious? Like, this is a sign of like, do you really care about the cash? Do you really care about the cash? Because right now you're not showing me that you care. So this is the attitude things that we want to see. And just to wrap this up here, we've got a pretty cool article on our website. It's called 8 Top Tips on how to Win the Pitch. And this is really like a collection of the insights that we got from the pitch decks that we reviewed throughout the year last year, where we came up with, let's say, like 8 of the most important points that you can really have. And this will really help you paint yourself in a better picture, especially when you're competing with other projects for a specific pool of money. So give us a story that makes me feel something, and that's backed with good numbers, and make yourself the hero of that story, and be proud of what you're doing. Cool. So now I've spoken quite a lot in the session, so thank you so much for staying with me. I'd like to make the rest of the session about you. So I'd like to learn a little bit more about what's happening in the Changemakers Lab, the types of projects that you're on, the journeys that you've been on, and how we can essentially use, I think, the last 30 minutes of the session to really unpack your journey and how we can help you be better prepared for what's coming. So first question I'd like to ask is, do you know where you want to take your project? When you're thinking about your project, do you really have that vision of where we're going to be in 3, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years? Is this something that's really clear in your minds? And have any of you pitched before? And what learnings did you take from that? So it would be really cool to get some answers like in the chat with regards to the second question. Have any of you pitched before? And then we can take the conversation from there.
I personally believe that this part of the question will be so easy to be answered by our change makers, because all these things are basically the things that they have been preparing this time, Tom. So for example, like the locations of the pilot, the project, for example, they have been working so hard about determining which kind of location that they need to choose in order to implement their innovations, implement their plan to create the impact. Or about, have you pitched before? Obviously, you guys are having this kind of experience 2 times, at least in Catalyst Changemakers, you have been pitching to us. So I think that you guys having the experience to this, and what kind of learnings, what kind of takeaways that you get, guys, from this experience. I believe that you also get this kind of insight. I would like to invite buat rekan-rekan semua mungkin untuk bercerita tentang pilot project-nya mungkin, lokasinya kenapa pilih di lokasi tersebut, terus gimana nih tentang pengalaman pitching-nya, karena kemarin kita sudah pernah latihan waktu di sync session kemarin, kita sudah latihan pitching, dan apa key takeaways yang boleh kita ambil dari pengalaman tersebut. I would like to give the floor to the audience untuk sharing hal ini.
Yeah. I see we've got a comment from Afiana, Watery Nation. You say that you pitched in some competition, but it didn't go well. So could you maybe share your story with us? Like, what made you think it didn't go well, or what actually happened? I'd be very interested.
That would be awesome.
Okay, can I speak, or it should be on the comment box?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I was pitching on the competition to incubation that I would take for like CCL and other things looks alike, and it doesn't go well because the time constraint. Because so many incubation or pitching day, it requires only 5 minutes to believe, to make trust with investor, and it doesn't go well because I present it really fast, or maybe too much information regarding it. So yeah, based on what I learned, take away from today and another session, Mata Air session, I really learned a lot about how to crafting the great pitch to the investor. So that's really good.
Yay, amazing sharing session. Thank you, Mbak Arvina, for sharing.
That's really a, let's say, like a recurring thing that we have when people pitch to us. When it's, let's say, when we're doing just one-on-one pitches, we're not really too worried about the timing because we're not waiting to speak to somebody else. When we're doing, let's say, like a pitching arena, there's only 10 or 15 minutes. And generally what we want to do is we want to spend most of the time speaking with you and asking you questions. So that's why generally it's always time box, like 5 minutes to pitch, and let's say like 10 minutes Q&A. And if you go past the 5 minutes, you're removing time from us to ask you questions. And that makes that's like a little bit annoying because we really want to know, but at 15, we have to move on. And also what that shows to us is your ability to understand what's important and what's not important. And what's important in pitching to us, but also what's important in your business as a leader. When somebody does like an incredible pitch in 5 minutes and at 4 minutes 55 they stop, we think, wow, that person understands priorities. And they don't just understand priorities in this context, they understand priorities in their business. And this for us creates an immediate trust and attraction. It's like, okay, cool. Now I want to talk to you, and now I'm gonna go for detailed questions to understand what's going on. So the presentation itself and filtering the nice to have versus need to haves in your pitch deck is super important. And what we always recommend doing is really practicing, and you've probably heard this a lot, is really the elevator pitch. Is you get into a building and you walk into an elevator and there's somebody standing next to you. Can you tell them your story before the doors open again? And the answer is yes. The answer is always yes. You don't even need 30 seconds to tell people that you have what your amazing idea is. Try to distill it in one sentence. If in one sentence you have to convince me to get more time, what is that one sentence? And if you can articulate your value proposition or what makes you special or what you've been doing in one sentence or 10 seconds or 30 seconds, it really shows me that you understand what you're doing. If it takes you 10 minutes to explain a very simple concept, it means that you don't really understand what you're doing. Your mind is all over the show and you're not focused. So for us, that is a super important thing, is saying, pitch in 5 minutes and show me that you understand your own business and that you understand what's important in your business. And then we will dive into the deeper stuff. And that's also a time management thing. We really analyze so much about you in those 5 minutes, and it's we don't just look at the pitch itself, we look at you when you're not pitching and when you're running your organization, and we say, shit, if that person can't get their thoughts together, how can we expect them to lead an organization? How can we expect them to manage the money we're going to give them well? How are all of these things going to happen? So the pitches really creates that impression that is very hard to change. If your pitch isn't, let's say, strong, we always have some compassion and stuff like this. You know, people get nervous. We're fully aware of that. And being nervous on the stage doesn't mean that you're a bad business leader or that you're bad at what you do. It's just that you need to become more comfortable. But we will look behind what's happening. We will try and start reading between the lines. And so the pitching is really an amazing exercise for you to understand how you operate and how you need to go about it. You could even do a pitch deck just for yourself. You never even need to present it. You can do it as an exercise that's purely internal, so that you have a clear vision of what's important in your company and where you need to go forward. So we got another message I see from Dicky. Sometimes pitching is nerve moment. It made us unable to deliver the best version of us. Do you have any suggestions on how to calm yourself before or during the pitch? Yes. So first one, very, very important, is breathing. Remembering to breathe, and remembering to breathe through your nose. There's a magical effect when you breathe only through your nose that helps you to relax, and really give yourself a bit of time before you're pitching to calm your nerves. If you know you're pitching in 5 minutes, spend the 5 minutes before meditating. Close your eyes, breathe, and just let it go. And remember that no one's gonna die. You're really not going to die. Some people might ask you difficult questions or things like this, but failing is completely okay. And failing doesn't even exist. You're just going to learn from that experience. So take the pressure off yourself and tell yourself that it's okay. And even if you manage to get yourself super calm, and then as you start talking, you start to stress again, that's okay. Tell yourself that anything that's going to happen next is okay, and that you can be calm about it. And if you need an extra 3 or 5 seconds to think for an answer, give yourself that time. When the best pitches that we see is when the pitchers, the people presenting, respect themselves. We don't want you to answer as quickly as you can and as immediately as you can. We'd rather ask you a question and be like, okay, so can you tell us how you're planning on increasing your GMV or whatever? And I want to see the person, instead of going, oh, blah, 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 I want them to see, okay, so this is what we're going to do. And that shows me that you think before you act. And that is an amazing signal. It's like, wow, that person receives information, they process it, and then they respond. You're not in a reaction mode, you're in a response mode. And that shows stability. And so give yourself time to really answers. Give yourself some time to do the answers, and be okay. And just tell yourself, it's okay. Remember to breathe and answer at your own pace. And people will respect that, and you will become more and more relaxed, and things will become easier. So this is where I have to leave this little section, and we can kind of carry on because we've got a couple minutes left. Is what's the right investor for you? And this is obviously the key message of this session, and I think we can spend the last couple of minutes on this. Is what do you think is the right investor for you? Based on what I've shared in this session, and of course your experiences before meeting me today. If you could please share with me, what do you think is the right investor for you? And I would love to maybe spend the last 8 minutes going through maybe like 1 or 2 of the current projects, so that we can add value, like a more tangible value to you.
Oke, mungkin bisa banget nih untuk di sesi hari ini, di sesi kali ini tentang bagaimana investor yang tepat untukmu. Siapa tahu dengan sharing yang diberikan oleh teman-teman Changemaker, siapa tahu ini match di agenda dengan Bali Investment Club, and eventually Bali Investment Club can be the right investor for the Changemaker. So probably this is the the sessions, the space for you untuk kalian rekan-rekan semua Changemaker bisa ceritakan seperti apa sih bayangan kira-kira untuk investor yang cocok bagi organisasi masing-masing.
Sambil teman-teman masih berfikir ya, maybe I olahkan a bit the third part about taking your time to process it and to understand that the whole thing is a learning exercise. Maybe I'll share with you a little bit of our experience in CCL, yeah. When we were going through the change makers to decide on the best change makers that would fit into this cohort, because even for us, it was an exercise of experimentation, right? We knew that some of you may not necessarily have interest or actual efforts that are currently in Makassar, Lampung, or Semarang. But what we were trying to look at was not only about whether you were present in the situation, but to Tom's point, how badly or how strongly do you feel about the intervention that you are trying to make? How much do you believe or how passionate are you about the session? So perhaps mungkin di masa ini YABB nggak memasukkan apa-apa keuangan di dalam ke-33 changemaker di sini, but it is an investment of our time, it is an investment of all of the mentors and the tutors, because all of you were able to convince us that you wanted to create this impact badly enough in the areas that you are in. So investors, to Tom's point, comes in many forms, right? Some of them will invest in putting money in you. Some of them will invest in giving you training and time as per what's happening right now. Some of them will invest in giving you access to their networks and contacts. But rest assured that every single investment comes with the hope and the intention to see you grow. Nobody is going to invest to see you be unsuccessful. So if you go in with that mindset that whoever it is that you are pitching to is actually a human being, right? Has vulnerabilities, has concerns. One of the best things when you're going to pitch, before you go into the pitching room, learn about who you are pitching to. Learn who is your adjudicating panel or your investors. If you are able to connect in the first 10 to 20 seconds to Tom, to what Tom is interested in, to what Bali Investment Club is invested in, then you know that you're creating that human connection. You tell your story, you sell a story that would be able to inspire Tom in whatever it is that you want to do that is relatable to Tom. So if, say, for example, you had no intention to even learn who your judges are, then you're in for trouble, right? Because very soon you will realize the questions that they are giving you are questions that you never prepared for. So to Diki's question, Tom, you shared one is breathing, the other is giving your time to answer. Number 3 is taking time, the whole process. I would add number 4, do your homework, and do your homework a lot, like really, really do your homework. Know what is Bali Investment Club interested in, the kind of projects that they would support, the kind of things that they're interested in. Then you create that connection to say, Tom, you backed XYZ and you gave them XYZ. We believe we can do double of that because of whatever. Only if you believe it lah. If you don't believe, don't. Nak cakap tipu, right? But the idea behind that is, with that, they will also know, wow, okay, you bothered to find out about what we are interested to back and the kind of things that we should be looking at. So create that human connection. And to Tom's point, right, make it a fun exercise. It's not about you are being in the lion's den. There are a bunch of lions that are going to be, like eating you up. They are also human and you have a value to give. When you give that value back, then people are brought on a journey as to why they should partner you and help you grow. So think about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very well put, Nadia. That's really the connection is the most important things. And we've all experienced this, is when you feel passionate about something, time stops. There's no restrictions in your mind. You just go for it. And for us as, like investors and not just investors in money, investors in time, like, like CCL, when CCL selected you is because they felt something and there was a passion element and say, yes, we want to help this idea to become real. And the projects that I've been the most passionate about is when I can see that the founders are passionate about what they're doing. And they're not just doing it for money or doing it for something superficial. That's generally what they love doing. And it's like, cool, I want to help these people. I want to do this, or I'm an amazing designer and I want to use plastic waste and make furniture. And look, this is what I do. And as soon as I see the person come to me with their heart and show the passion, that's almost more important than the numbers, because the numbers you can always improve. The passion is very hard to inject. It's either there or it's not. So communicate that passion, and find the people that you think will be passionate about your idea too, and understand what you need so that you can approach the right people. If you just need cash to get some purchase order done or something like this, you don't need to go to a passionate person. You can just go to the bank or anybody and make sure that the numbers are right, and you don't even need to smile. Nobody cares. It's done. It's a transaction. But when you're asking for support and when you're looking to have somebody jump on this journey with you, what creates that connection and what keeps that connection strong is the human element, the emotional element, and believing in that person and being excited about what's going on. So I'm really, well, let's say grateful for, to have shared this session with you, to have shared some of our experiences and our learnings of what we've been doing at Bali Investment Club. And I've already shared this with the CCL team. I'm very happy to make myself available in the next couple of days or in the next couple of weeks. If any of you want to have a one-on-one chat about your project. For me personally, I'm always happy to have a chat about people working on exciting things. It's not just, okay, it's business, no business. I'm always happy to have a chat. And if there's an opportunity to obviously, take the chat further, then that's also amazing. And if it's not something that, let's say, BIC can help with or something like that, if I know somebody that is doing something similar to you, if I see there's a connection that I can make to help you move forward, then this is something that I'll also do. So this is really what I'd like to offer you guys is the opportunity to take this conversation further. If you enjoyed what obviously what I had to share, and if you believe or if you think that there's any more value that I can add to your project and what you guys are trying to achieve. And I think we're good. And I think we're good for time, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you can, I'm sure the CCL team has my contacts. Otherwise, super simple, tom@baliinvestment.club, or you can reach out to me or the team on any of our channels. And I'd be super excited to take this conversation forward. I think the, mata air and the water is an amazing topic to dive into. And I would be really honored to see how our organization can support some of the activities and what you guys are doing. Obviously at CCL, all the work that you guys are putting in, it's really amazing. And then of course how we can take and nurture some of these ideas and help them to have a greater impact across Indonesia.
Okay, so thank you so much, Tom. What a really enjoyable and also insightful session from you, especially from this perspective of the investor. I think that this is a very new knowledge for the majority of us, considering that some of us maybe not having the experience to pitch or to meet the investor yet. But I think that this is a very huge takeaways for us to learn about the knowledge about investment, about attracting the right investor. It's not only about the go to every investor out there, but it's about also understanding what value that we have and also what kind of value that we can bring, and what kind of value that we can share with the investor that match the agenda itself, so that it makes the perfect collaboration between the right investor and the right change maker, the right impact creator. So I'm definitely having a lot of good things in this session. So I think that it goes all the same with all the change makers. So yeah, these are the social media for Bali Investment Club. So if you guys still have any questions, still want to have, as what Tom said before, want to have one-on-one session, he loves to talk with the people that creating this kind of interesting job. So I think that you guys can also reach him through the link or through the social media that already put in the screen. So yeah, thank you so much once again, Tom. What a really amazing session. I hope that we all learn a lot from you, and also it goes all the same. You also know from the perspective of the people that also looking for the investors. So yeah, definitely a great sessions.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. And yeah, just responding to Dickie and the rest of the viewers, is that if you want to reach out to me, it's really come and say hello. You don't have to be like, oh shit, no, I need to have my pitch deck ready. It's like nothing. Just come as you are and just say, hey, listen, I'd love to chat to you about my project. And that's for me the best way to chat with you. We could, like a pitch is something it's for another conversation. I'd much rather to get in a chat with you and actually understand what you guys are doing. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, then we can chat about it. So you can be fully relaxed in this context. And if your English isn't so strong either, then I'll have somebody from my team who's much better than me in Bahasa that can also facilitate the chat so that you're more comfortable.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So for the follow-up informations about reaching you, if we have further questions or further discussion to your materials that you share with us today. So yeah, once again, thank you, and we really enjoy your session. We hope that this is not the end of our collaboration, of our networking.
No, it's the beginning.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the the amazing things, the amazing jobs that we will do in the future. So definitely a perfect, a golden opportunity for all of us. Thank you. So yeah, as what I have said, so this is the end of the session of Tom's presentations about the attracting the right investor. I know for sure teman-teman semua di sini, rekan-rekan semua sini belajar banyak tentang investasi, belajar banyak tentang bagaimana sih nggak cuma investasi tapi juga attracting investor yang benar, investor yang sesuai. So with all of that, we want to hear your impression, we want to hear your feedback through our feedback form seperti biasa. Jadi rekan-rekan semua, kita akan kasih waktu sekitar 2 menit untuk rekan-rekan semua mengisikan feedback form terkait sesi hari ini. Berikan kesannya, kasih komentarnya di sana tentang sesi hari ini dan apa yang bisa kita lakukan untuk mengimprove sesi-sesi selanjutnya. Aku kasih 2 menit, silakan operator. Oke, thank you so much untuk teman panitia untuk sudah men-share feedback formnya. Kali ini, seperti biasa di mata air session, kita akan punya sesuatu yang spesial, yang eksklusif buat mata air session, yaitu adalah mata air challenge. Jadi teman-teman diminta untuk mengikuti langkah-langkah berikut untuk mengikuti mata air challenge. Teman-teman bisa download template-nya di bit.ly/mata air challenge 5. Lalu teman-teman bisa isi template dengan berbagai tips and trick yang teman-teman boleh dapatkan dari sesi ini. Tadi kan Tom kasih banyak tips and trick nih tentang investasi. Siapa tahu lebih banyak orang di luar sana mungkin yang bisa gaining new insights dari apa yang teman-teman share dari Mata Air Challenge ini. Terus juga jangan lupa upload template story ini di Instagramnya rekan-rekan semua, dan jangan lupa untuk tag @yayasan.anakbangsabisa dan @socialinnovation.id, serta yang terakhir adalah jangan lupa @Bali Investment Club. Itu jadi 3 tag-nya ya, jangan lupa 3 akunnya untuk di-tag di dalam Instagram story teman-teman untuk Mata Air Challenge. Mbak Lila sudah bantu juga untuk nanti bantu untuk linknya terkait Mata Air Challenge, juga terkait info-info yang boleh kita follow up setelah sesi ini. Oke, next kita akan pengumuman sedikit mungkin untuk sesi terdekat. Kita akan punya sesi sync session yang keempat. Itu akan dilaksanakan besok. Jadi tolong siapkan pitch deck terbaik dari rekan-rekan semua, karena kita akan coba untuk mengasah nih terkait pitch deck-nya sebelum kita berjumpa nanti menghadapi Innovation Day di tanggal 14 Februari itu sendiri. Oke, that's all the announcement about today's session dan session-session yang akan datang. Terima kasih rekan-rekan sudah hadir. Kita akan menutup agenda hari ini dengan satu tradisi yang sudah biasa kita lakukan, yaitu adalah take a picture together. Boleh mungkin untuk teman-teman semua mengaktifkan kameranya untuk kita foto session bersama, untuk kita abadikan hari ini. Karena nggak afdol kayaknya kalau kita punya banyak sesi tapi kita nggak abadikan. Oke, Tom is already ready with the pose. Oke, kita masih waiting for the others to open the cam. That will be really great. Oke, dari
Aku
rekan
akan bantu ya, Chris.
Oke, Mbak Lila,
Ya.
boleh silakan. Oke.
Oke, teman-teman, pose pertama seperti biasa kita pose bebas dulu. Ini untuk slide yang pertama ya. 1, 2, 3. Oke, sebentar aku save dulu. Oke, lalu untuk slides kedua. 1, 2, 3. Oke, siap-siap. Slides pertama kita posisi CCL. Oke, slides pertama posisi 1, 2, 3. Oke, aku save dulu sebentar. Untuk slides kedua, posisi 1, 2, 3. Terima kasih teman-teman semuanya. Back to Chris.
Oke, thank you Mbak Lila. Seperti biasa Mbak Lila sangat-sangat bisa diandalkan dan cekatan untuk mengambil foto kita dengan baik. Terima kasih Mbak untuk foto sessions-nya. Oke, with that being said, kita sudah ada di akhir session kita hari ini. Terima kasih rekan-rekan sudah hadir di dalam sesi Mata Air yang kelima. We're almost there to the finish line di Innovation Day nanti tanggal 14. So be ready untuk semua excitement yang akan kita punya untuk di sesi-sesi selanjutnya. Without any further ado, aku sebagai MC hari ini mau berterima kasih dan mau undur diri. Sampai jumpa di sesi selanjutnya. Selamat sore.
Thank you teman-teman.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Kak Chris.
Ya, terima kasih Mbak.